Welcome to Conscious Pathways Conversations, where every Wednesday evening at 6 p.m., you'll be introduced to expert healers from around the world specializing in different modalities of healing, ranging from forensic kinesiology to EFT to medical Qigong to sound healings and beyond. These experts will guide you through real-time exercises, allowing you to experience the power of energy work firsthand. You'll discover how they came to learn about their unique gifts, and you'll be inspired by their bigger purpose in healing the world one energetic shift at a time. I'm your host, Kathy Dale. I'm a certified mindset coach and NLP practitioner here in San Diego, specializing in helping divorcees overcome their fears and blocks so that they can move forward to a beautiful new chapter of their lives. Tonight, my very special guest is Kelly Fisher. Kelly is a spirit medium located here in San Diego. She has sensed the spirit world for as long as she can remember. As a medium, Kelly reads for people all over the world, and she helps them to connect to their loved ones in spirit. Through her work, she delivers healing messages and evidence of existence that love, like life, can never die. She has trained under world-class mediums, and her gifts have been tested and certified by James von Praagh. Kelly, it's such an honor to have you join us here this evening.
Thank you so much, Jan.
Oh, thank you. For those of you who may not have heard the story or seen the post, Kelly and I met a couple months ago at the Holistic Living Expo, where she did a reading for me, and it was a tremendous help to me moving forward in my path that I was on in my business, my professional life. And a few weeks later, we contacted Kelly again when we were having some paranormal activity in our household. And she was our number one go-to person. I knew after working with her that my boyfriend wanted to reach out to her right away to help us figure out what was happening, what messages we needed to receive. So Kelly, thank you so much for your help. You are just an amazing medium and healer. And so tonight I wanted to talk to you about how you got started in all of this. So for people who may not know you, I'd love for you to talk about your background and how you discovered your very own gift.
Well, yes, I love talking about mediumship, and it's so fun to talk about the past, because looking back, everything seems a little bit clearer, and I think that's true about life in general. But so we say that mediums are born, not made. And I knew from a very, very early age that I was different, in that I could see and hear things and voices and people that other people around me didn't seem to know. So I also became aware very quickly that wasn't generally accepted, as a normal thing, quote unquote. So I just sort of kept it quiet, but my close friends and family, my parents and all of that knew. And so, yeah, I have, ghost stories that could fill up hours.
Oh my gosh. And was your family supportive of this? Had they, known about mediumship at that point? Had they known about any of these things to be able to help you, in that sense?
That's a good question. And I've had it a lot. Actually, I was really, really blessed that they were supportive of me. They didn't know what mediumship was, or really how to guide my gifts. They put me in a Christian-based school because they knew that I was very spiritual and that I needed to have that connection to God or the great source. So they did that for me. I think the most important thing that they gave to me was they never made me feel like I was crazy, or that it wasn't okay to come sleep on their floor if there was something scary going on in my room,
Right.
So yeah, my aunt is a well-known channel, and she came out with her gifts around the time that I was a young child. And so I had the blessing of her kind of guidance, and also her helping me reframe it to say, it's not weird. You're not crazy.
Right.
This is what's happening with you. And this is how you should start looking at developing your gifts.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's really where I started is, I kind of let her know, look, whether I'm in a massage or an elevator, on an airplane, people are coming to me in spirit and they're talking to me about their loved ones. And I'm not sure I didn't even know what a medium was. So I didn't know that was a thing or that it had a label until later on. And she said, well, let me open up my database to you, and you can just do readings for free for those who are interested. And they're very loving and open. And so I started that way.
Wow.
About 13 years ago that I started reading for people, I think.
Oh my gosh, that is incredible. And it's so wonderful that you had an aunt that was, this ran in the family, I guess. I met some incredible.
So.
And then you ended up, afterwards you decided to hone your skills further, develop them further by getting into programs and certifications and doing some other things.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so lucky to live in San Diego because there is such access to wonderful mediums. I mean, the best mediums in the world come to LA and San Diego in our own backyard. And
mm-hmm.
So I haven't had to travel anywhere except for maybe LA. But
right.
Yeah, once Long Island Medium came out, I thought, okay, I know what I am now. I'm a medium. So I said, I'm doing what she's doing. I just didn't know it had a name. And then I wanted to know more, and I wanted to develop further. In fact, I wanted to know, my biggest question was, am I stuck here at this stage of ability, or is it something that you can develop like anything else? Can you get better at it? And so I just sort of fortuitously fell into a course with James Van Praagh back in 2015, I believe. And that was one of the questions that got answered fairly quickly was, yes, it is something that can be developed. And so I've been on that path of developing in a formal sense since then.
Wow, that's wonderful. And I know that there are several different types of mediumship. Can you talk a little bit about the different kinds and specifically what you do in your work?
Yes, that's such a good question. And I actually haven't ever been asked that before. But I can tell you the answer. So I do something called evidential mediumship. And beyond that, I'm an evidential mental medium. So that means that if you were to sit with me in a mediumship session, the table isn't going to lift up. There's nothing physically going to move in the room. And also the spirit's voice doesn't come out of my voice box. So I'm not channeling the spirit within my faculties. I'm using my clairvoyance, my clairsentience, my clairs to connect with them. So what you'll get is evidence of your loved one, and then usually there's a message. So that is mental mediumship, using evidence to really prove that life survives after physical death.
Right.
Mediumship is another sort of mediumship. It's not as well known, and we don't have as many physical mediums living today as we do mental mediums. But a physical medium can actually manifest a spirit, so that within the circle of within a physical mediumship circle, there could be regular people that could actually see the spirit with their own eyes, and they can hear the voice. So that it's a really unique kind of mediumship, and it does happen, and there are physical mediums who are quite good. I have not developed in that way at all. And then there's trance mediumship, which is different than the other two that I mentioned. And trance is just like it sounds. You will go into sort of a trance state, and then they sort of channel the spirit. So the spirit sort of, what we say, plugs into the voice box, the medium, and then their voice will come out. So it would sound, if I did that, it would sound like my voice, but it would, the intonation and the accent and everything would be that of the loved one in spirit.
Right. Oh my gosh. That's really interesting. And, another question that I was curious about was, when spirits are trying to connect with people, are there certain universal messages that they're trying to get across? You've probably done so many readings at this point, but are there certain things that they really want to convey to people?
Yeah, I always find that at its simplest form, they really just want to come through and say, I love you, I miss you, I'm proud of you.
Mm.
You've turned out to be a wonderful mother or wife or husband or father. It's those loving messages that are really the, at the heart of what they want to get through.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to bring through all the evidence first so that they know it's their mom before they can bring the message of I love you. We do get a lot of I'm sorry's. We find that, in spirit, they have to review their life, and they find that once they've done that and they've seen it from a different vantage point, they also have understood how they've hurt others, specifically their loved ones. The first thing they want to say is I'm sorry, and that's the need that needs to be fulfilled in the spirit world.
Wow.
Also touches the need of the person sitting with me.
Mm-hmm. And are people ever surprised by the spirits or the messages that come through for them? Or are they usually coming to you for a particular, maybe they feel like they're going to connect with somebody, but then they connect with somebody else inadvertently?
All the time, yeah. What I find is that oftentimes the spirits who people didn't expect would come through pop in first. They almost know that I'm going to just take a couple of minutes here to say hi and tell you what I need to tell you because you came to talk with your mom, and I'm going to let you go through the rest of the session with her. So,
wow.
Yeah, it happens. It happens all the time.
Oh my gosh. Like I can imagine there being like a waiting line or something. People sometimes wanting to come through. You're not first.
Exactly. Yeah. I tell them to line up in order of their need. And so a couple of times we'll have a pushy spirit, because if they were pushy in life or loud, they're going to be that way in spirit. So a couple of times I've had to say, okay, you guys behave yourselves, get in line.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Oh my gosh. I just remember when I met you at the Holistic Living Expo, one of the funniest things that Dave and I still talk about is the fact that you're like, wow, there are a lot of grandmothers here today. Oh my gosh, that totally cracked us up, because we're like, well, we can't see them, but you guys definitely were feeling, seeing them, feeling their presence, all of that. And, so it made us kind of look around in a whole different way and everything.
Yeah, it's a different experience. We become in soul families. So there's never just one person there unless you're young and you've only lost one person in your life. There's always more than one.
Right, exactly. And what do you think's been your most difficult journey into mediumship? Has there been a really difficult part for you to because it must be so difficult to have to process all of this stuff that's coming through for you, and some of the messages I'm sure are difficult to hear and things like that.
Yeah, I would say there's been a couple of different difficult points. The first one was just coming out and living this authentic path, because there is still a stigma around it, and it's not as widely accepted as we would like it to be. Hopefully it will be someday. But and so I would say that was the first difficulty, was stepping out. But once I did, I thought, okay, nothing will stop me from following this path for the rest of my life. But the difficulty within the mediumship is certainly when we deal with a lot of grief. So when I have parents who've lost children, when we have to look into a suicide or a murder, or sort of a missing person, but we know that they're no longer living. Because of medium, we actually have to bear witness to the death. And not only that, we have to feel the emotion that they were feeling at the time that they were going through that. So while I know it's not my emotion, it still uses my clairsentience, my feeling faculty. And so in that way, there are experiences that are tough to get past, but
right. And
yeah.
how do you protect your own energy when, you're trying to process and do all of these things and do your job? And, how does that work for you? What things do you do for self-care and for protecting yourself?
Yeah, well, so just general self-care is really important. Just making sure you get enough sleep, you get your exercise, you eat healthy, all of those, items, because you have to take care of your physical body. But also, it's just that conscious shutting down after. So when I say shutting down, just energetically going through my chakras and letting my consciousness know, my subconscious and my conscious self, that we're done. We're not working anymore. I'm not in the context of a session. So that's where I just shut down. And that way I'm not getting messages when I'm in the grocery store necessarily. I'm able to kind of go about my life like a normal person.
Right.
Maintain my for the sessions.
Has anything ever happened before to where you tried to do that and then somebody still, maybe a spirit came to you at a certain point because they really needed to get a certain message across? And then in those instances, what would you do?
That's a really good question. Actually, I have an example just from today because I took half the day off to take my little one to SeaWorld. We just hadn't spent time together. And my attention was drawn to a guy sitting in the corner, and his girlfriend or wife was with him, and she just looked so sad in grief, And in that moment, I heard somebody just died, and so I knew the loved one was with me, and it wouldn't have been the right time or place to go up to him and say something, but I know that his loved one was aware that I could see the situation from a different perspective.
Oh, wow.
They knew that I was aware of their presence. So it's interesting, when we come into this world, we have to learn to speak English or whatever language we speak. And when they pass to the spirit world, they have to learn to come back and communicate with us. So sometimes the first thing they'll do when they pass is go home to let us know they're okay. And in that instance, I think that his loved one was just trying it out to see, can I get through to this medium? Will she understand the message? And then they'll do it again. So if I really feel like it's the right time and place, then I might pass on a message. But typically with the ethics of mediumship, we try to do it within the context of a session that has been set up, an appointment that's been set up with the spirit world and with their loved one.
Right. Okay, and then there was one other thing that I wanted to, well, actually, first, what I'd really like to do is to acknowledge, when you're talking about dealing with a lot of grieving people and especially parents and things like that, I wanted to acknowledge your really beautiful work, Kelly, with some organizations. I saw your post the other day and it just touched me about, helping parents heal, the organization in San Diego, the San Diego chapter that you worked with, Make-A-Wish Foundation. You're doing some incredible, incredible things in the world. And thank you so much, for helping these families in that capacity, because, they probably don't feel like they have anyone to turn to. And in a moment like that, to be able to give them a gift of connecting with their child's spirit, it's just beautiful. And thank you so much for doing the work that you do.
Thank you for saying that. I love it. I love to be able to give back.
Yeah, it's just it's such a valuable thing, and people are going to remember this. This is going to have such an impact on them, and it's going to create that ripple effect, like, what we all hope with any of these things where healing takes place. This is going to really help them. And I was wondering too, if there are one or two things that you would like to share with people about your experiences connecting with the spirit world through your work as a medium, what would you like people to know?
Oh, that's my number one thing is that, and you mentioned it in your introduction, that love like life can never die. Mm-hmm. So it's just, I think it's so important, and one of the reasons that I'm so passionate about this work, that people know that there's more beyond this life, and that this life also matters. It's a part of our journey, of our soul's journey, of our learning experience, and our developing as a soul. So we are, we're souls having a human experience, as a statement that I like to repeat. It's not original. I didn't make that up, but it makes sense because, our actions here really do matter when we move on to the spirit world. Mm-hmm. So I know we've all had that moment of, well, it doesn't matter, it's not gonna, everything will pass, it won't matter. But everything that we do, every action, every thought, every deed, everything changes the very makeup of our soul. So it's important to be conscious and to be present. So I think that would be the biggest message, because we're only here for a short bit, but our soul is eternal, and we do move on, and our loved ones do survive, and they do care about us, and they are very involved in our daily lives.
Mm-hmm. That's beautiful. Thank you so much, Kelly. And, now I was wondering if you wouldn't mind taking some questions from the live audience. And one of the things that I want to mention tonight, Kelly is not going to do a live individual reading for anyone, but she will answer any questions that you have related to spirits, mediumship, your guides, your spirit guides, or to provide you with any guidance in connecting to spirits, the spirit world on your own. So I was going to see here if we have anything in the chat box. If anyone that's here on Zoom has a question for her, please let us know. I will also kind of go through let me scroll through the Facebook list and maybe go through a couple of the comments here. Thomas says, I saw my mother outside my window and she looked so real, and it was just because of some side effects. He thinks it might be some side effects of medication. She's been dead for many years. Dimple says she's really proud of what you're doing. You're doing such a great job. A lot of people are, saying great information that you're providing tonight, Kelly. Paige says amazing work. So, you're just getting so many of these like positive comments about what you're doing in the world. So, Becky has a comment here. She was worried about how people would react when she came out. I was 48, and how do you explain that I'm a psychic and medium now? Those that knew me half my life thought I went crazy, and the other half wanted to know how I didn't know that earlier. So, there's some people that I'm sure you can kind of relate to on your journey and things like that, about coming out, about, feeling that apprehension of, how do I say this, but you're stepping into your authentic place in the world, you're accepting that. And, the greatest benefit is all of the people that you're able to heal and help through your work. Jeffrey says, thank you for sharing. Great messages. So Thomas has a question. He's not asking, I'm growing. Oh, some people are growing into mediumships themselves. What tips can you give them to help them connect with spirit more?
Okay, that is a really great question. So, and I'll take this question next, because it's a good one. But for developing mediums or beginning mediums, if you know that you have that ability, the best thing that you can do is, I would say the best thing you can do is find a reputable medium and get into a course. that would probably be the best first step. Also, it's wonderful because you get into a course with people who are like you. So you think, wow, I'm not alone. They're really important. If you can't get into a course, and most people can because they're, even if you can't be in person, most of the courses will have an online component. So I can recommend some mediums who I've worked under who are phenomenal. So I would say that's first. The second thing would be get in a development circle. So depending on where you live, it may or may not be as accessible to some people, but a development circle would be probably 4 to 7 people. You meet regularly, and I would say weekly would be ideal. And the purpose of the circle is to meditate together so that you can what we call build the power, and then work on exercises so you can read for one another in a space that is really forgiving. So you can fall down and you can be wrong. You start to learn, it really is like learning a language. So you start to learn, oh, when I see this, it often means, X, Y, and Z. So that's really, really valuable in a development circle. Also, the support that you get within the circle is important. And then the third thing, and maybe that should be the primary, is sitting in meditation is really, really paramount to developing your mediumship. It's the number one thing that people should do. And it's many mediums will refer to it as sitting in the power, which can be because it's how do you do that? But it's understanding, it's sitting and starting to understand your own soul. So sitting in the power of your own soul so that you can understand what it feels like. What does your soul feel like? And what are the qualities that you should be proud of in your soul? And what are the qualities that can be improved upon? That's the beginning of that self-soul work. And once you feel that, you get a sense for yourself, if you can lift that up and out to the spirit world, and then just sit in the spirit world and allow them to get to know you and allow yourself to get to know the spirit world so that you can kind of allow it to become a part of who you are. And you're not looking for a communicator, you're not looking for a spirit person in the time that you're sitting in the spirit world, you're just sitting. If it's hard to sit 5 minutes a day is fine, but if you can work up to an hour a day for those developing mediums, that is going to be the most important thing to do.
Those are fantastic tips, Kelly. Becky has a question. Can you connect with your own family on the other side?
Yes, I can. And I have many times, sometimes involuntarily because they want to come through with a message. Just when I either miss them or want some guidance, then I will absolutely connect with my family on the other side. And not every medium is going to work professionally, but maybe they'll use it just so that they can connect with their family members and find healing in that.
Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm trying to see if we have any other questions here. Your family.
If you want, the mom outside the window. Thomas, I don't think that was a side effect of your medication. I'm no doctor, but I have seen spirit, and it's not always under the influence of medication. So when that happens, that takes a lot of energy for your mom to manifest. And if you look back at the time that she showed up, you might notice that it was at a time when you really needed her. So, yeah. So just trust that experience and trust that that was her actually showing up to you. And she'll come again. It won't be the only time.
And Kelly, we have a comment here from Tim Starr, who's a good friend of mine. He says, great title for a book, Sitting in the Power of Your Own Soul. So you may have a book inside of you to
it down.
That's fantastic. Great advice, Tim.
I love it.
So let me see if there is anyone else that might have a question for you. If there's anyone else that has any burning questions for Kelly about any of this stuff, please let us know. I know there's a short delay on Facebook when we are doing the connection between Zoom and Facebook Live. So there's going to be about a 30-second delay. But personally, I have been trying to connect, and I've set up a new meditation space, a new office space for myself. And I've not been able to fully tap in yet, but I'm working on it every day, like you're suggesting, and doing meditation and all of those things, because I feel it. I just, don't know how this is going to come through, but I'm trying as well. And so I think a lot of people out there may be feeling the same way. They're very interested in all of this. They 100% believe that all of this exists. They would just really love to have that stronger connection, and
it will happen. It's just taking the time to get there.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful.
Let's see in the chat here. Oh, your family is amazing, Kelly. Debbie is Kelly's mother-in-law. Kelly's the most loving and gracious, intelligent, well-spoken, kind-hearted woman. I'm so proud of her and so glad to call her mine. She's immensely talented and is only scratching the surface of what's to come with her. Much love from her entire family.
Oh,
absolutely beautiful. And I could not agree more. You are an incredible person, Kelly. And I'm so glad that we connected. And of course, if anyone on here tonight wants to get a hold of you, because you do private, you do individual readings, you also do some group readings as well. Could you let people know how to best connect with you?
Yes, absolutely. So the best way is to the website. It's socalmedium.com. And I have a contact form on there. And then there's also my private sitting and group sitting availability. And, mediumship works over the phone and Skype or Zoom as well. So I have had calls with people in other countries and other states. So, I always just want to put that out there, because even though it's ideal to be in person, it can work over the phone.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have international clients. You have worked with people from all over the world. And so that is a great thing to mention for those of you who may be watching. I know we've got a lot of viewers that are in Australia and New Zealand and Canada. So, if anyone wants to connect with Kelly, I will leave a link to your website so they can get in touch with you. If no one else has questions tonight, are there any final words that you'd like to say this evening, Kelly?
Oh my God. Thank you so much for coming on and letting me talk about my favorite subject.
Oh, this has been fascinating for me. Thank you so much.
I love it so much. And so, I guess parting words would just be, to keep your imagination open, your minds open, and your hearts open to the experience of the spirit world, of signs from your guides and your angels and your loved ones, because they are all around us. And we often miss them because we're so busy. We're so go all the time. So take a moment each day just to look for the magic in the world, because it does exist. And I'm just so grateful that I get to be a part of it. So
that's beautiful. Thank you so much, Kelly, for being a guest tonight. And again, I'll leave information for people to contact you, to work with you directly. And I hope you have a fantastic evening. Thank you for taking the time out for us this evening, and we'll be in touch for sure.
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
All right. Take care. Good night, Kelly. Good night, everyone. Thank you so much for joining.